The AR platform uses two different sizes of pivot pins. This is the pivot pins for the hammer and the trigger. The AR-15 is the earlier models. They had a pivot pin of 0.172, and then the later model ones is a small pin, and the military is 0.156. So the small pin adapter is what this is known. It's marked M16. The large pin adapter is marked AR-15. The majority of the firearms will take the small pin, so we'll be using this adapter. We're going to put this adapter on the Series 2 stoning fixture, and we're going to stone the hammer first. We have hammer cam. That's the first thing you want to look at on a firearm. Hammer's cocked, safety's off. Now if you'll notice this hammer, if you look real close, as I pull the trigger slow, you'll see the hammer cam to the rear. See it move to the rear? They should or could cam a little to the rear, but not near to that extent. About 1/4 that amount of movement to the rear would be ample. And when you have one that cams to the rear like that, there's not much of a way of changing the angle on the trigger or the sear to get a reasonable pull, which would be down around 4.5 pounds. Now this is a new one, out of the box, has not been fired, and we'll check the pull. £9 pounds, 7 ounces. That's a little excessive for a firearm that I would consider that you'd be able to shoot good and user-friendly. When you get your Series 2 stoning fixture, the elevator will generally be at the bottom and the locking knob will be tight. You can loosen the locking knob a little bit, remove the clamping knob, remove the clamping block. We can now put the adapter on it. We'll also install or place the Allen key and the socket screw head on the back. Now you'll notice on the back of these adapters, there's a H mark and an S mark right here. H means hammer, S means sear or trigger. So we're doing the hammer first. We're going to line this up on the H mark. We'll put that on there and move it around to where we're right on the H mark. You double check and get just as close as you can get it. And that's locked tight with the center line of your elevator. You simply place your hammer on your adapter, forward against the stop pin right here. Now this is your clamping block with the jack screw on it. You place it on your hammer like that. The jack screw is adjusted with the 1/8 inch Allen wrench to where it is extended about the same amount as the thickness of your hammer. After that's on there, then you put your locking knob on it. And you tighten that down. All this does is tighten the hammer against the adapter, and you're holding the hammer against the stop so it can't move. Now we know from experience that the hammers on AR-15s are undercut considerably. So generally you start at 20 clicks up, but with this particular model we're going to start at least 30, maybe 40 clicks up. When this was in the firearm, it had a lot of hammer cam to the rear before it would fall. So I know that this angle here is a long ways off from what it should be. We're going to start at 30 clicks up. Be sure the elevator locking knob is loose. We're going to rotate our elevator wheel. There's 1 click, 2, 3. There's 30. That's a good starting point. Tighten that. Generally you put marking fluid on your hammer hook. A lot of people use Sharpies I like to use blue Dicom because it's heavier and easy to see. This is our 3-cornered stone holder. Now you can see we're going to have to slide the guide forward. Now probably it's not quite enough, so we're going to have to move this up to the next hole. See where we're at here. There we are. Okay, push it up against the hammer and then back it up just a little bit. You're supposed to use the 3/16 Allen key. All right, you simply just place that on there. Hold it forward and movements left and right. Now you first do it just enough to look at what you did. Now the ink is not enough of that off there, so we're going to have to come up further. So all we do is loosen the elevator. We're going to come 10 more clicks. Do the same thing again until we're happy with it. Got to move this to the rear. When you raise the elevator, sometimes it changes the guide. And move it back just a little bit, tighten that. Okay, that's 40 clicks up that we come. That's a starting point. It may not be right, but we know at least the hammer's not going to cam as much to the rear. We're not going to know what we have until we assemble this in the firearm and try it. So that's the hammer prepped. Remember, that was 40 clicks up. Now we can do the trigger. Now what you want to do is place the trigger on there. You can put your locking block on it. Tighten the locking block knob to the rear. Be sure your trigger's against the stop this way. See, the stop's the bottom pin now on the trigger. Tighten it up tight. Now we stopped at 40 clicks on the hammer, so we're going to go down 10 clicks. We don't think we got that much on the angle. There's 1, 2. There's 10 clicks down. All right, now we're going to be we have to loosen this adapter and rotate it to the S mark. Now that's 30 clicks up, so it's still adjustable, or you can still get access to the socket in that screw that holds the elevator on. All right, everything's tight. 30 clicks up. Now here again, you'll have to readjust your stone guide. See, that'll get it right there. And if you like, you can put marking fluid on it. This generally, the marking fluid shows you what angle you have. All right. We're not going to know until we put it in the firearm. So we know this was up 30 clicks and the hammer was up 40 clicks. So we assemble these parts, check the hammer for hammer cam. If the hammer cam's a little too far to the rear and you want the top of that hammer moving back just a fraction, like 5 or 8 thousandths, or it can actually sit dead still. But you don't want it going forward or you'll get hammer follow. So we want a little bit of hammer cam and then get the rest of your trigger pull by the angle of the trigger and the weight of your springs. So we're ready to put this in the firearm and try it. All right, here's the finished product. Now what we did, we stoned the hammer 3 different times. So the elevator ended up to being 45 clicks up. to get the hammer to where it did not cam to the rear. And if you look real close, it looks like it's set still, but it cams to the rear maybe 2 or 3 thousandths, not hardly anything at all. And on the trigger for the single action pull, we ended up with being up 40 clicks. And the trigger pull now weighs 4 pounds and 2 ounces. So we're ready to completely reassemble the firearm and test fire it. And when you do this kind of alteration, most of the time you'll have to alter the back of the trigger so the safety will work proper.